GM, we are live. Best ball on call. Thank you for coming by. And Skeletor, can't wait for an entire week of Gilbert Arenas discussion. Actually, we're just not going to draft today. We're just going to talk about Gilbert Arenas for an hour and a half because that's all anyone wants to do. Has the BBM winner already been drafted? Because Gilbert Arenas gave everyone their EV. GM, everyone, I cannot believe we've already filled the puppy. That has been my kind of go-to in some of these morning streams because a lot of the other stuff is a little more difficult to get to fire. But you know what? We're going to see what we can see. But yeah, crazy stuff with the Gilbert Arenas. And let me try to join one and then we can chat because I'm afraid it might take a little longer to fill stuff. So I've got a schnauzer. I doubt we'll be able to do a 30-second schnauzer, but let's see where we're at. If not, I'll try a 20. Most people who are, oh, it just fired. All right. Well, I was hoping to invite people in, but that literally just snap filled. So we're in a 30-second schnauzer. So yeah, my thoughts on the Arenas thing is that those drafts happen all the time. It's just, that was so highly visible because it, is a famous athlete, Underdog affiliate and it got people talking. But there's rooms like that where people are just doing wild stuff. I kind of fall in the line of, and if people are not doing crazy ADP reaches, like if you're taking just ridiculous players in the first round, if Devin Neal and Andre Yoshivas 1-2, if you're not doing that and you're just building bad structures or structures we think are bad, then to me, those drafts shouldn't be thrown out. And we don't want to limit what like newer players or bad players do. Like, people should be allowed to make mistakes. And so I think it all got quite a bit overblown in my estimation. I didn't get in any of those rooms, but I'm not too concerned. And frankly, if you need Josh Allen or, Lamar, if they're the winning quarterback, then people who drafted with Gilbert, who was taking those guys ahead of ADP, they're out of luck. Like you just don't really know. So, it's tempting to say there was all this EV, but we're really not going to know. And again, I don't think we should be like limiting what people can do. Let me get the ducks rolling here. 1 second. Let me turn this down. It always makes my audio weird when I hit this. So hopefully that comes back. All right. So I'll pull up the board. Glad we got in a 30-second one. The last few streams, I've only been able to get 20-second drafts to fill, which can get a little stressful when you're trying to make a pick and also trying to talk about the pick and talk with all of you all. So see what happens. I find myself feeling like there is a pretty big tier break between the 6th pick and on. I don't really like picking at 7 and 8 myself, mostly because I don't really like what happens at pick 30, 32, 31 to 33. If you don't get a faller, the ADP range is that sort of like Kyron, Allen, Devontae Adams range. I like Devontae Adams, but if I'm here, I end up with Puka about half the time. And I don't really love going Puka Adams or Puka Kyron that much. I mean, it's not terrible. I don't want to not ever do that, but it's just not my favorite way to build. So let's see, what did we get falling to us? And lo and behold, Puka's at the top of the board. I think I'm going to take a Nico share. Part of this being exposures, kind of want to build a little bit differently. And again, I'm going to see if maybe doing this kind of kickstarts things into having a few better choices in this 30 to 41 range. Also, I'm very much in on the Texans Houston game as a Week 17 game. So if I'm building for Week 17, I might target Ladd here and see if I can get him coming around. He's usually there at 17. The Ducks are so soothing. Indeed, they are. I got Zay Flowers 6 picks after ABP and a Gilbert Arenas. Yes, that's a counterpoint. People were able to get values like Gilbert Arenas. Like Zay Flowers 6 picks after ADP, which I feel like happens a lot. Zay Flowers I don't know how his ADP hasn't ball. In fact, half the time I think he's at least 3 or 4 picks after. He's kind of an odd Skeletor wins. Yes. I was going to title the stream Skeletor has already won BBM, but unfortunately I got too excited about the puppy filling. But yeah, crazy we filled the puppy so fast. I thought it was going to be open for another like 2 weeks. Like if you asked me 2 weeks ago when it would be filled, and I'm sure New York coming back had a big thing to do with their with the fill rate just spiking. Also, when drafts get close to the end, people panic and it kind of snowballs. Like the last 5% happened in a blink of an eye. You had people like people in Discords being like, I'm in the next 120 slows. I'm like, oh my God, that's dedication to maxing this contest. Entering deep into slow draft hell. Crossface GM, thank you so much for stopping by with the candle emojis. Yeah, I guess if I ever get to the point where I can have if I could have channel emojis, there would have to be some form of candle. Schnauzer fail quick now. Maybe, but I have to think that most people who've maxed the puppy also already maxed the Schnauzer. That would just be my like vibes based take, but you never know. People like me who saved Schnauzer bullets are now like, fiending for it. So I will take Lad there. Nice week 17 game. I like Lad quite a bit. I like all these guys in this range. Bowers, A-Chain, Taylor, Bucky. They're all great picks, but I did want to intentionally try to build this Nico Lad stack that I like quite a bit. And then if the best pick there is a Kyron or a running back, I feel good about that. I found myself building a lot of taking at least one running back in the first 2 rounds this year, way more than last year. And I don't want to not do early wide receiver strategies at all. I want to be mixing my strategies up and not get too heavily weighted for one or the other. This is a little bit late for Bowers, which is interesting. He fell in this room more than normal. MHJ getting pulled up to the 7, to the 107 or to the 207. But you know what I'm saying. To the guy who drafted 7th, he got MHJ, and you don't see that too often. And interesting there, he typically ends up, lately I've seen him with one of the Higgins or Chase drafter because that's a week 17 game. The Bengals and the Cards. So he's been, tethered to one of them more often than not. Be interesting. Maybe he's targeting Chase Brown at 31. Maybe he's trying to build a week 17 stack there, or he just likes MHJ. We will find out, however. Yeah, this is a fall for McBride. I haven't seen McBride not go in the second round in quite some time. So interesting stuff happening in this early morning 30-second Schnauzer. See, so the one hole going Taylor Jacobs. So we've got the pretty hefty RB draft going on over here on the left side of the board, and over on the right side of the board, a lot lighter. So interesting how that's going to shake out. So there goes McBride to somebody who had 2 running backs. So Jay Newcott is we'll see if they learn Avalanche or how this room rounds out. Coming around to us, I'll pull up what's going on here. I would love Chase Brown, but I highly doubt Chase Brown gets over to me. I really would like one of Hill and Jigba or Brown, and I'm much less excited after that for Adams, Kyron, or one of the elite quarterbacks. But we'll see what happens. We will make it work, whatever comes to us. I was pretty out on Hill, but now I've decided I think I just want to get to market on him. He's, I am more and more willing to write off last season as an aberration and hope that he's, didn't just completely lose a step. So there goes Hill, and let's see if we get Njigba or if we end up with, I would just take Devontae Adams. I like Devontae Adams, but I think Njigba could see a pretty heavy target share over there in Seattle. So I'll make this pick. I'll take JSN, which I like. Start 3 wide receivers. So we got Nico, Ladd, and JSN. start off. We're at a point in the cycle where we're really not getting a whole ton of news. To me, one thing that was a little bit interesting that came out was some coach speak over regarding Dallas's running back room, talking about that and pretty much putting Phil Maffa on an even field with Jaden Blue. And we are not drafting that way. Phil Maffa is I would say he's only drafted less than 10, and honestly, probably less than 5% of contests. He goes undrafted most often, but Jaden Blue is drafted every single time, and we could have ended up getting that one completely wrong as far as the usage there. Maffa's a pretty big, physically big player. All right, I've got an interesting choice here. Do I take Hampton and add him to Ladd, or do I take one of these wide receivers? Let me queue up, because I think Seattle plays Carolina week 17. I don't want to be a total slave to week 17 stacks, because your odds of actually making it there are extremely low. But I do like Tet McMillan quite a bit. Hampton and Ladd get paired together a lot, so that's not like some kind of completely uncommon stack. And again, I feel like this might be a room where I could get a little bit away with some more of a zero running back strategy. I don't foresee this side taking as many running backs, so I might get something swinging around that I like here. 56 is fertile ground for your like Ken Walker, Kamara, Henderson type. So I should be able to get a running back I like with my next pick. Crander says, Gilbert Arenas doesn't bother me that much. I've seen worse drafts manually drafted. Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? Like those drafts happen every day. We just don't talk about it. And also, it's usually not like 150 in a row, or however. I don't think he did 150, because I think I heard that he was drafting yesterday, so he must not have maxed it. But just the sheer amount of drafts where that was happening was raising attention. But actually, just like doing that, like we're gonna see that all summer. Just people doing that for bad rankings, doing a bad strategy. Like people are just gonna be doing that kind of stuff. So yeah, I'm with you. I'm not fussed by that. So the aforementioned Zay Flowers, so Skeletor, NFT 42. I know it's a different contest, but you've got him covered here. He took Zay Flowers at ADP like a chump. I like JMO at 47. He's someone that I consider taking. I'm really in on Jameson Williams this season. GM, we go to bed thinking about best ball, we wake up to it. What did we used to do all summer 5 years ago? I don't know. I remember vaguely something about, I think they called it going outside. I'm not sure though. I'm not sure. I don't really have a great recollection of what that was like at all. So we've started with 4 wide receivers, so I'm going to take anything but a wide receiver on here. I know there are people who will take 5 and 6 wide receivers before any other positions. I just have a real problem doing that. To me, that feels a little arrogant that you're saying I'm so good at catching up at the other positions that I'm going to draft somebody I know will not be hitting my lineup, every single week before I take other ones. I'm not saying you have to fill out your lineup like 1 QB, 2 RBs, 3 running backs, a flex, and a tight end, but these are such premier draft capital positions that I really don't like doing that unless there's some kind of like big ADP faller, or I'm like doing that in 1 or 2 drafts in a portfolio of 150. To me, it just doesn't seem like it could be optimal. So let's see if we get a choice between Hubbard and Harvey. I think I might take Hubbard because I have this little bet on the Panthers going, but hard luck takes Hubbard. So I'm just going to take RJ Harvey on this team. I could also have taken Walker for Seattle. That would have been fine too. But I do like RJ Harvey quite a bit, and Walker is a guy that occasionally tends to fall. So like to vary that. I didn't get a whole lot of Walker, a whole lot of Harvey lately. So that is almost a little bit of an exposure play for me. Let's not rehash the JMO wars in the Take Cast Discord. I know it got heated. And I frankly don't understand anyone who's anti-JMO. Like, if we don't need to get into it. I love JMO. This is a pro JMO channel in my opinion. So coming up 5 picks away, Kamara is an option. Henderson's an option. I also really like Sam Laporta. I know he's a little bit of a polarizing player. There's people that don't consider him in that elite tight end tier, but I don't think I'm one of them. I know last year was a tad disappointing, but it still wasn't that bad. How many? Yeah, so he ended up with only 726 yards, but he started off a little bit slow. I love their playoff schedule that they have, 3 dome games. They play most of their games indoors. I do wonder that with Ben Johnson leaving, if the offense changes at all, but he's such a good red zone target that I do like him. With that said, I think Kamara just makes more sense. I'll take the ADP value and take another running back there, but certainly was in play to take Sam Laporta. Kamara is a guy that people tend to be a little scared to draft, mostly because of the team, possibility of the team imploding and then packing it in before the playoff weeks get rolling. But we've lost a lot of good men every year chasing, the Kendre Millers of the world, and I don't know if I want to be. I don't know if I want to be among them. I do think Kamara still has some juice left. It's possible they get improved QB play. I mean, Spencer Rattler was pretty bad, but he also was, kind of thrown into the fire. Tyler Show might not be horrible. So we'll see. We'll see if things are getting better in New Orleans, but probably not. Probably not. GM Hartman, thank you for coming by. I also found I have like 20+% Travion Henderson, and I'm fine with Travion Henderson. I'm not that excited about him. I'm not not excited, but I'm not get 3x the field on him excited. So one thing I've really focused on this year, or been trying to, is making my exposures deliberate. I have 30% Scatabo, but I love Scatabo, so that's on purpose. Travion Henderson's a fine player, but I have kind of backed my way into that 20%. So I think that's a big thing I focused on in the big board, and it's something that in post-draft contests I want to continue to do, is not just let momentum end up with exposures. If I'm overweight on a guy, I want that to be on purpose. Or if I have none of a guy, I want that to be on purpose, not just because I'm okay, in this range I click this player. I'm not, I like, Judkins over Caleb, so I'm just going to take Judkins every single time when they're going to be both available quite often, as an example. So let's see what's coming around. The people that took early running backs have, begun to catch up with the wide receivers. I don't see anyone doing anything too crazy except for Killa Kai, who opened with Neighbors, Henry, Kyron, and then Lamar, Burrow, and Addison. My God. Okay. Well, that's odd. I don't even know what to say. The unstacked Burrow at 59 after you take Lamar. So, maybe we have a Gilbert light situation here. Unclear, but that just simply cannot be good. That cannot be good there. But we'll see what comes around to us. Again, this is a range where I don't want to just be clicking the same names every time. It's interesting that Golden and Reed have really just converged, and they now go back to back. I personally prefer Golden to Reed, but again, I don't know if it's a case where I just want, to have triple the Golden that I do Reed, because Golden might not be that great. I mean, he was a little bit of a combine hero. He really showed out in the college football playoff. So I don't know that we necessarily want to take him over Reed every single draft. But again, if I have them ranked like this, then that I'm going to get like way more golden than I am Reed. Unstack Burrow, cancel it. Yeah, that's what people say. They say if you take 2 elite QBs in the first 5 rounds, now has the Schnauzer been compromised? Has the Schnauzer been compromised? Because people are going to ask that question here. And, I don't know how I'm going to answer it. So Swift, I'm going to take DeAndre Swift here. He's not a guy that I am super enamored with, but I don't think I have a whole heck of a lot of him. I like Hawkinson, but he sometimes falls. I think I'd rather just take Swift. If they add somebody to the backfield, then this is going to look really stupid. Like if they make a trade for somebody, one of the Jags backs could be potentially on the block. There's been a little bit of grumblings about Seattle potentially moving someone. Chubb, I think, is still unsigned. I know Dobbins is still unsigned. So there could potentially be some some dominoes left to fall in Chicago. But as it stands, if Swift and Roschon are guys I'm taking both of. I'm taking more so Roschon because somebody wise once said in an ambiguous backfield, just take the cheaper guy. That makes sense to me. But yeah, I click a lot of Roschon, so I'll make sure I have some Swift in case he really does win. Ben Johnson's heart back over. Looking at quarterbacks that we need, nobody coming right up. Herbert and Stroud go in about 30-ish picks from here, so I don't have to worry about them yet. No reason to take like an unstacked Mahomes or Baker. Cooper Kupp would be interesting if he doesn't get taken, because then I could make a pretty big bet on Seattle. Burden's not a terrible shout because I have Swift, but Burden's been a faller lately with that soft tissue injury. Jonnu Smith is somebody I don't have a whole heck of a lot of, but don't mind. I'm going to take Kupp and make a little bit of a bet on this Seattle team. And then I guess we're going to have a decision if we want to take Darnold or do we want to take like round 18 Milroe. And I guess maybe we can just see what comes to us. Once we have Smith and Kupp, I've seen Darnold go essentially, I can't remember if he went completely undrafted, but he will fall extremely late. So we can make some decisions on that. I guess it'll depend if we get Stroud and or Herbert there. I did the same thing with 20% Judkins. Like, how did I get there? Yeah, that's what happens. And again, I think it's something, I think it's something that we can generally improve on because it's so easy to do that. That's one of the places where overlays can really help. I keep talking about getting an overlay and I probably should just to avoid that thing. I've been doing my BBMs pretty slow. I think I've done 22 out of the 150, where last year at this point, I'd probably done at least 40 or more. And trying to take that contest slower. This year, I don't think there was quite as much value in the opening days where it almost felt like everybody who was playing early was sharp and wanted to grab that value, and there really wasn't a whole lot of. Now, obviously, some ADPs are going to move and there are going to be values, but RJ Harvey was the big example. A lot of people logged on hoping to get cheap RJ Harvey, and that really didn't happen. So it was definitely felt like a pretty sharp opening to this year. I'll take any dip on Pollard. Yeah, I love that we're getting a little bit of a discount because of the Spears talk of it being more of a 50-50. They said the same exact thing last year, and it was still pretty much Pollard's backfield. And a split backfield would hurt him if it was more of a 50-50. But if it keeps him healthy and playing deep into the season, that has value too. So I'm not worried about Pollard, and I think the Titans are going to be significantly better than last season. So we've got a 0-3-5 so far. Baker's been weirdly falling. Not really sure why that is. Don't have a tight end, so Travis Kelce makes sense, but he just goes. I like Mark Andrews. We're getting a nice dip on him after he dropped that 2-point conversion. So we're getting for getting a discount on him. I still think he's being like heavily punished for that. Wide receivers are pretty gross. I don't need to add one here. I didn't end up taking Burden, so no need to take Caleb. I think I'll just add I'll add a Mark Andrews. Najee wouldn't be the worst shout. I think he's going to be more involved than us Hampton people really want, and I do have a bet on the Chargers, but I think getting that, locking up a tight end I'm comfortable with, and now I can feel good ending with 2 tight ends if I have to with Mark Andrews, or taking too late for the 3rd. Seems like JMO's the exact type of player you want in best ball. Absolutely. He is unironically a better in best ball type of player. Swift is tough. If they don't bring someone, he's a smash. If they do, he's probably such a bad pick. I've been taking him, but not sure how much. That's it. Like he's a guy that I don't like to take, but I don't want to like the season to start and he's the starting back, and I don't have the starting running back in Ben Johnson's offense that we all are excited about. That's gonna feel pretty terrible. Turns out opening day was cheap RJ Harvey. I can't remember was he in the 60s and now he's in the like mid 50s. So maybe we did get, or maybe that was cheap. Yeah, he's just been motoring up the board slowly but surely. One of the ETR guys says it's easier to lower to your exposure than increase it on a certain player. Yeah, I guess you just stop clicking the button. But I said I want to lower my Ollie Gordon exposure pre-draft, and I kept clicking him anyway. So maybe it's easier for the ETR guys. Lower your exposure, stop clicking that guy. I want to get heavy, have to click it a lot consistently. Yeah, and there's times when it's just like doesn't make sense to add a certain player, like for build purposes or whatnot. I don't need Goff or Dak. Herbert is in play here, but I think I'm going to add Sharps, and we're just going to really make a little bit of a bet on Seattle. And, I passed on taking Ken Walker here and ended up with ended up with Harvey over Ken Walker. Possibility one of these guys gets moved. At worst, Charbonnet should have pretty hefty contingent upside. And then this lets me feel a little better about waiting till to the end of the draft to pick up another running back or 2. I might live to regret passing on Herbert, but we'll see. It's usually the Harris. I feel like the Harris drafter gets really excited about taking Herbert, but we'll see, because they already have Jalen Hurts, so they may decide they don't need Herbert and he could come around. The Omarion Hampton drafter is a wild card to take him, but they just took Dak, so not too bad of a run out here. We'll see though. If we don't get Herbert, I'd probably just take Stroud to lock that up, because my other QB that I'm going to take would be Bryce Young, and I would probably take him here at 152. No need to reach ahead on that. Went from 45% Tootin to 32 in a week. Still feel good about my bags. Yeah, the hopefully that's just an example of us overreacting to coach speak, the Tootin fumbling, because yeah, that did scare all of us who have a lot of Tootin, and I know I do. I think I was at like 25% last I checked. He was probably, I think he was my second highest exposed running back after Scatabo. So let's see, there goes Ramondre. He was one of those guys in that range that I wasn't clicking on, and now realized I really should be, because that could be more of a 1-2 punch. We get super excited about these rookies, but the coaches sometimes can bring them along a little more slowly. So, it remains to be seen if Ramondre will be in play. Wow, this guy takes another quarterback. So he goes Mahomes, Dak, and Love. So at least, let's see, Love is stacked, Dak is stacked, and Mahomes is stacked. So he just says, I'm going to build a triple stack in this rounds 8 through 11. Let's hope we can get Herbert coming through, but we will see. I'll queue him up hopefully this guy doesn't just take a third QB, but you never know. And I'm not going to get tempted by any kind of detour with this ADP value. I really do like Jack Betch. I like him a lot as like a 6th receiver, because then I feel very good about my wide receiver room. But now I've at least locked up my my lad stack there. If I can get CJ Stroud with my next pick, all the better. But let's see. Does the Higgins guy, where's the Higgins guy? So Higgins guy's passed me. So there's a decent enough chance I get Stroud. I guess it depends if either of these guys just want a second QB and don't care if they're stacked or not, which happens. People do odd stuff. This is also a schnauzer. So yeah, there goes Stroud to this Killakai guy who went Lamar Burrow and now takes unstacked Stroud. So you simply can't win them all, folks. You can't win them all. I don't have any Vikings, so it wouldn't make sense for me to take Mr. Naylor, or excuse me, Mr. McCarthy, and then potentially backstack him with Felton or Naylor. No reason to take T-Law. I'll just take Tucker Kraft here. And again, that'll give me the chance to potentially end at two tight ends, because I do like Andrews and Kraft quite a bit, or add in a late one if I have some kind of bailout stack that I need to build. And I believe Green Bay and Baltimore play week 17, so I get the tight end versus tight end week 17 matchup, which is always what you need to win a GPP. So yeah, really unfortunate about Stroud. I mean, that's the risk when you're playing with players who, and I'm just going to say it, I don't think Killakai knows what he's doing. And when you play with people like that who are just complete wild cards, then odd stuff is going to happen, and for better or worse. Like you can get good ADP values, but you can also just get your stacks sniped. That does unfortunately make it more likely that this ends up being a Darnold team. But again, maybe this is a Milrow team. We can potentially decide that together. So there goes McCarthy. But yeah, McCarthy, McCarthy, Ty Felton. I do like Felton. I feel like Felton could potentially be a good late season add, especially if Addison gets suspended. If that happens late in the season, we could see, one of the ancillary pieces in Minnesota being quite valuable. But we will see. There goes Goddard. So coming back to us, I think I would just take, I think I'm just going to take Bryce Young, because I don't trust this half of the board anymore. And people tell themselves that Bryce Young runs, and so they'll take him naked. Don't really care that it's slightly ahead of ADP, but we will see. I don't know if I actually did not mean to cue Thielen there. If Bryce Young goes, then we've got real problems. We've got some real problems, so we'll see. I don't like QJ. I simply think QJ might be a big zero, and so he is one of my intentional exposures or lack thereof. I don't think he's. I think they brought in Harris to send QJ to the shadow realm, so I'm going to just avoid that click entirely, unless later in the summer, if I have to make that click, I will. But in the meantime, we won't. So going over the team so far, we've got Herbert and Bryce Young at QB, RJ Harvey, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, and Charbonnet at running back, Nico, Ladd, JSN, Tet McMillan, and Cooper Kupp at receiver, and then Mark Andrews and Tucker Kraft at tight end. So not a bad team, kind of balanced, kind of meat and potatoes team. Nothing too exciting. Nothing too exciting going on, but let's see what comes around to us. Tank Bigsby would be probably my pick. I don't hate the idea of taking Roshan and then just locking up this Chicago backfield. I'm almost tempted to do that. Now, if they bring somebody else in, that's going to seem that's going to seem really horrible. So I don't know. I don't do this too often, but I won't get the choice because M. Sachs takes him. Would be interesting to see. Liget and Thielen are potential options, but I don't know. I think Ted McMillan is really going to take the reins there. And I think Coker is actually sneakily might be the second best receiver on that roster. So I'm going to pass on that. I'm going to take Bigsby, shore up this running back room a little bit more, and then probably focus on some later round darts at receiver. And again, we'll see about potentially Darnold or Milroe. All right, I'll pull up the draft board. All right, nothing too out of the ordinary. A little string of running backs going there. I like Hunter Henry. He was a guy that certainly could have gotten some draft competition, but did not. So I like him more than I did in pre-draft stuff when I thought this was a pretty good tight end class, and New England might be live to add somebody. Our 2 Carolina receivers go. And around the corner we go. NF only has 1 quarterback, so he's got Justin Fields. He probably is going to take Geno, I would guess, because he has Myers, but we'll see. We'll see what NF42 does. So he does take Geno. And now we are coming back, and he takes Wandale. So for us, let's see, thinking about what we're going to do, we're at a 2-5-5-2 build. Probably just Dowdle would have been my pick, but I guess he goes a little bit. Is that before or after ADP? Right at ADP. Okay, so Dowdle would have been a good click for me. I think I would have liked to add him to my Carolina bet. I could potentially add Darnold. I think my choice here would be Coker, and if Coker doesn't go, then I really like Brenton Strange, and this is a nice fall on him. You know, to me, Brenton Strange is probably about as good as the wide receivers in this range. So I wouldn't mind doing that. Maybe I'll push Coker if Strange is there, because I think there's a good chance with Coker's ADP that he does fall. But there goes Strange. So then the question is, do I want to add someone like a Gesicki, or do I want to take one of these receivers? I'm going to add Alec Pierce. Because I do really like him. I think he's one of those players that's potentially better in best ball. He had over 800 yards last season. He's certainly the deep threat over in Indy. I was going to say sometimes A-Rich goes really late, and you could build a back stack there if you want. But Killa had to add his fourth quarterback. So the fact that I want players that Killa is taking might be bad for me, because I don't think Killa is the most astute drafter in the world, and he's sniping me a lot. So maybe I'm more similar to Killa than I'd like to admit, but we'll see. There goes Pat Bryant. Speaking of Denver guys who've been steaming up, he could have been a potential choice because I had Harvey on the team, but I do think Pierce is, he's running all the routes out there in Indy, and second round draft pick, but we all just don't like him for some reason, because I think mostly because we really all like Downs on the Colts. So let's see. I think I would take Coker. There goes Gesicki. After this, though, it's pretty grim. I mean, it's just sort of like pick your favorite player. So there goes Coker. That was a little unfortunate. I really thought Coker might make it back to me, and he does not. I guess I'll take a Will Shipley share. Again, trying to mix in these late round clicks. I'll take a Shipley, and then I'll add one more wide receiver, probably one of the one of the later rookies, a Tesla, Felton, one of that kind of ilk, and then either a tight end or Darnold or Milrow, depending on how things are looking. Marshawn Lloyd was the player I was between there. So yeah, a little surprised Coker went that far ahead of ADP. But again, nothing should be too surprising in these rooms. And Nate over here is comfortable with only Daniels at quarterback. That's pretty interesting to build like that. Very, very fragile with the one elite QB. You see that a lot in weekly winners, where someone will just take one elite quarterback and then hope, basically take 17 or I don't know if they play week 18 in weekly winners, but basically everything but the bye week they're trying to win, and they're just punting 1 week off and hoping that the quarterback is who you need in 1 or 2 weeks over the year, which I don't hate. I don't really play weekly winners, but it is one where if you're into game theory, you can go pretty deep in the rabbit hole, and I know that's one strategy, but you don't see that too often in these GPP streets. So coming around, there goes Keenan Allen. Still don't know where he is going to land. Tyler Lockett goes. He very often goes to the Cam Ward guy, but not today. AD Mitchell, some people really like him as a late round click in Indy. Again, Indy has one too many wide receivers with Pittman, Mitchell, Pierce, and Downs. And I think they'd probably like to move somebody, but I don't know how big a market there is for any of them. But, we all want AD Mitchell to be one of the guys. Again, I think that's partly why people are out on Pierce, is because we hate seeing Pierce running wind sprints out there and AD Mitchell on the bench. So Brush takes Darnold. So there goes that potential possibility for us. Schultz could potentially take Schultz because we do have Nico. So, a little bit building out our Houston bet. Not too excited about that. Maybe take one of these wide receivers. I don't take a lot of Jalen Royals. I could add him to the crew, mostly again for exposure reasons. I don't know if that I want to have absolutely zero Royals, but Kansas City is a team that brings rookies along, historically quite slowly. I don't have too many bye week concerns. I mean, I guess maybe week 8. Diami Brown, though, was getting some decent enough coach speak. I'll add a Diami Brown share. I'll take Diami Brown here and make that our 7th wide receiver in the room. It sounds like he is going to be out there quite a bit as the 3rd receiver in Jacksonville. And if Travis Hunter ends up coming along more slowly or being more of a rotational piece, then it really could be Diami Brown getting more run than we're expecting, and him be a value in the 17th round. Or we could all realize he's Diami Brown and he's not very good. That's possible too. But in this round, it gets pretty ugly. It gets pretty ugly here. So question for me is, do I take Milrow or do I take one of these tight ends? And I almost think with how big my Seattle bet is, then we take Milrow. Taking a 0 at QB feels pretty bad, and he very well could be a 0. But when I have Kraft and Mark Andrews, I am anticipating one of them hitting my lineup. I didn't use a ton of draft capital on tight end, but I used enough to where I should feel comfortable with just those two. So if Milrow goes, then I'll just add like Sanders or Johnson. But I would be surprised if he does, because Milrow does not get drafted most of the time, and taking him without any pass catchers seems odd. So rounding out the team, We got Herbert, Bryce Young, and Milroe at QB, RJ Harvey, Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Charbonnet, Tank Bigsby, and Will Shipley at running back, Nico Ladd, JSN, Ted McMillan, Cooper Kupp, Alec Pierce, Diami Brown, and then Mark Andrews and Tucker Kraft. So kind of a weird team. I'm going to be honest, a weird team. I don't hate it. It's not my favorite team I've built, but I feel like structurally it makes sense. There were just a lot of clicks I feel uncomfortable about. Diami's a good pick if you're low or high IQ, mid IQ. It's gross. Yeah. He had a few spike weeks with Washington last year, and they paid him pretty well. At least for, I think he's on a 1-year deal, but it was not like an insignificant amount of money. I just copied Chad, assume it's high IQ. Don't do that. No, if you do assume I'm like on the left, like if you want high IQ, like the leg up guys are that kind of person. That's high IQ. I am on the left side of the curve, but that's served me well enough. So let's see what else we want to hop into. If we have any requests, we can take requests. Otherwise, it's hard without a puppy. It is hard without a puppy. Let's see if we can hop into. There's no way a 30-second eliminator is gonna be firing, but let's see where we're at. Waiting for 8. All right, I'm gonna leave. That's gonna take way too long. Let's see a 20-second eliminator. Let's see what happens, and then maybe we'll, if not, we can try potentially try a BBM. Let's see. I could do another Schnauzer, but I feel like people aren't as excited about Schnauzers. So let's see. Let's hop in a 30-second BBM and see what happens. See how far off we are. Waiting with bated breath here. 5 people. All right. Let's wait this out. Let's see if we can do this. Before I do this, I don't think like Ship Chasing or Pete are coming on at 10, are they? Because if they are, then I want to do a 20-second one. I thought I checked, and I did not see anybody scheduled to go live. I wasn't sure if Best Ball Breakfast would get moved to today, but it looks like it did not. So let me just see. Oh, is it at 10? If Best Ball Breakfast is at 10, then I don't see it on their upcoming live streams. Well, let me hop out of this. It's not going to snap off, and I'm going to give anyone a chance who joined, if wanting to hop in with me, to hop out. I'm going to try to join a 20-second BBM, and let's see where we're at. Because I would have thought Best Ball Breakfast would be today, but it's not showing up as scheduled. But again, that doesn't mean it's not happening. All right, waiting for 3. So we'll 10:30 my time. All right. I think this. Let's try to get in a 20-second BBM. Oh, 10:30 Pacific. Okay. All right, that's 1:30 my time. I got to be honest, folks. I will not still be be streaming at ADP Chasing 10 Eastern time. All right. Well, I need a calendar. I need a calendar because I went on their on the Ship Chasing page earlier, and they didn't have anything scheduled, but I thought it might be. Okay, it is 10 a.m. All right, so let's hope we can get this filled and rock and roll before Ship Chasing comes on. Let me see. BBM 20 seconds, 10 of 12. All right. Will be streamed. All right. I'm sure that is that's all that's what people need. They need to know it's being streamed, and then they will hop right in. All right. Well, please, Best ball call. Thank you. And please, nobody join if they don't want to do a BBM, or you do not have to sacrifice one of your bullets just to get this going. I appreciate your support, and I will make it work. We'll pick extra fast. Let's fill it for the tube. Thank you, Skeletor. Yes, Gilbert Arenas is in the lobby. Yeah, on DK you can see who's in your lobby before you fire a draft. I don't know if people know this. I feel like people do, but not everyone does. But if you join a room and you click entrance, you can see who's in it. And there's also a way to do that without yourself joining, but I forgot what you have to do exactly. But you can see I think you can do that. Anyway, if you join a room, you can see who's in it before it fires. So if you see it's a room full of killers, you do not have to remain. Hartman will join if it's not full in a minute or two. I mean, you guys are awesome. Thank you for doing that. But yeah, I do not really want to stream up against the ship chasing guys, because honestly they've helped give me a platform, and I will simply, I know I'm not going to take viewers from them, but as a matter of principle, I do not want to do that, because those guys are awesome, and they let me post in their, Davis lets me post in his Discord, and Pete's got his self-promotion channel where I know some viewers have come from. So I try to wrap it up before any of them come on. But here we are in the 6th hole. So let's see. Best ball on call. I apologize that I do not know your name in here. And so forgive me. I feel like you've told me it, but I don't see you. Or if you didn't get in here, then no worries. But I just do not want to shout you out if you are not shout you out if you are in fact in here. So again, I've mentioned before or earlier that I prefer the 6 quite a bit to the 7, because I think after Gibbs is a little bit of a gap. They cannot the work firewall. Yeah. Well, you got to butter up the IT team and see if they can't just nibble a little hole in the firewall to sneak underdogfantasy.com to let that one through. I mean, all right. So we've got Chase and Jefferson going off first, and we are off and running. Looks like people are at least clicking fast in the beginning. Maybe they are trying to get to ship chasing. We don't know, but I will just go by. I tend to just go by ADP in the first round, unless I'm doing, some kind of exposure smoothing, which I'm not at that point yet in BBM. I prefer Lamb to Gibbs, but I'm not too upset to end up with Jahmyr Gibbs. I was listening to some content yesterday where they were talking about potentially the split between Gibbs and Montgomery not being as solidified as some people think, and Montgomery could potentially lose some work to Gibbs. And I don't know if that was speculation or if there was anything behind it, but certainly, Gibbs, is super efficient if you bet his single highest rush yardage over. I'm sure there's a better way to phrase that. His longest rush, you could say that instead, and not confuse everybody. His longest rush number last year, if you just bet the over, you literally could stream from your own yacht, because it just hit every time. But yeah, he's such an exciting player, and not upset to end up with him at all. Middle of the board, I like picking from the 6 because you can get a little more creative with pushing players than you can at the turn. It is a lot harder to push players from over there. You really just got to get lucky. Whereas here, you could potentially be a little more deliberate about that sort of thing. Crossface on DK, you can, not Underdog. Oh, yeah, crossface. Sorry, I missed your comment. Yes, in DraftKings you can, and I don't want to say I recommend you do, because I don't know how much information you get, but I do tend to do it just to see, because they have the little badges on there, so you can see if you're really in a room with somebody who has not played much before. It's a little bit of a different badge system. It is way easier to get the full a sergeant major badge or whatever they have than it is like a red badge. You need a lot fewer drafts, I think, or on DK. But yeah, you can do that. All right, so we've started with Gibbs, and boy, people got thirsty for wide receivers. So do I reach and I take a T Higgins, or do I go robust RB and pray? All right, let's do a running back avalanche prayer circle. I took JT over A-Chain. I think that's how I would have them ranked. I think Jonathan Taylor's role is a little more solidified than potentially A-Chain, where I think they want it to be a split, but they haven't had the right personnel to make that happen. If it's Daniel Jones, then I think Jonathan Taylor really goes burr. So I think you have a little bit of potential hidden upside there with the QB room. Not that I'm not taking A-Chain, but I think 1-to-1, I prefer JT a little bit, but we will see. So I this nice badgeless guy also going robust RB. So always good to be in good company here. The two of us here just going robust RB bros, me and the badgeless. So let's see what happens. Hopefully we can get some value here. But yeah, there's a difference between 30 and 32 with the wide receivers you get. You still tend to get one of MHJ, Tyreek, this range down to JSN tends to be available unless something really odd happens. Like if Bucky Irving falls to me, we're just going to open triple RB and make this a hyper fragile team. I don't necessarily want to do that, but I think if that's what the room gives us, then we take it, and we hope we can navigate through there. What I don't want is to be left with Josh Jacobs. I really, if it's Bucky, MHJ, Tyreek, and McLaurin, I'm less enamored with Jacobs. I really like Chase Brown, but is Chase Brown a guy I want to go, triple RB with? Not as much, but we are rapidly heading that direction. The other thing is that there's some weird blurb about Terry McLaurin possible holdout, which is a little scary. So let's see what happens. This is not the best. Let's see so he takes McLaurin. So are we really doing Josh Jacobs, or do I take Javonte? Dear God. All right, you know what? We're going to do it. We are going to do it. We're going robust RB. We are going to end this team with 4 running backs. I don't like 3. 3 to me just is too thin. But we're going to try it, and we're going to try to dig ourselves out of this hole. This, of course, is a BBM, so always nice when you can get really uncomfortable in in a VBM. A whole new meaning to the name Scary Terry. Yeah, apparently he came to the first OTAs and then he stopped, and now there's contract grumblings. I don't know. I thought there were good vibes there in Washington, and that did make me a little nervous. I don't think it's anything to where I'm going to stop taking him, but I do think holdouts are often worse than we expected. Take Hampton in 4th. You won't. No, I will not. I will not. For the same reason I don't like taking 5 wide receivers in a row. Not that I never do it. Not that I never take 5 wide receivers in a row, but I just don't. To me, it feels a little bit of an arrogant way to build. Hyper fragile shipper. Yeah. I remember. I'm coming up, so let me see. All right, so Tet McMillan, then JMO. I hope I get one of these two. My God, let's see. JMO RB1 season. Could it be, folks? Breece Hall? No. Well, all right, let's see. If these two go, I am going to be very sad. All right, so I will get the choice. So then Tet McMillan or Jameson Williams. I have Gibbs, so I have a little bit of a Detroit thing going here. I think I'm. This is dicey. This is dicey. I'm going JMO. We're going full Lions onslaught. The Lions are going to be good this year. Having a rookie receiver as your number one, they do sometimes get brought along slowly, and that does make me a little bit nervous about making him my first receiver. I do think one day we're going to see a flippening between JMO and Amon-Ra, and I'm not saying that's happening this season, but I do think that is, eventually going to happen, and I will take a shot at this. This could be bad. The other thing is I think JMO's risen a bit, so there are probably people who got him, in the 5th round, but again, I simply cannot worry about that. Pickens, wide receiver 1. Yeah, this is a wide receiver 2 as wide receiver 1 team. And then look at these two. Look at these clowns. No imagination, going, pure piss boys over here. These two standing next to each other at the urinal. Everyone knows you got to leave a gap. But Mazzuli, Clue, and Mr. Stockton, no, they're talking. They're making everyone else uncomfortable. You hate to see it. Us robust RB bros would never. But he does take Cortland Sutton there. So finally we see, we see them realize you can take other positions. Jalen Waddle would have been a guy I loved at 54. That would have been nice. Let's see what comes to us. Oh my God, Omari and Hampton. Someone please take Omari and Hampton. Well, let's see what we get. Let's see. I don't want to get cute and take like a Hurts. As much fun as that would be. Metcalf goes. I think in my heart of hearts on this team, I would rather have Calvin Ridley than Zay Flowers, but let's see what comes to us. If Ridley goes, I will take Flowers. I think Ridley's going to be a little more consistent. I think in a team where I'm trying to catch up at receiver, there's more of a chance of a massive Ridley smash than Flowers, who gets game scripted out a little bit. They tend to lean on the Ravens want to be running the ball. Flowers is a little bit more up and down. I think with Cam Ward taking the helm, I would just prefer Ridley on this build. So again, we are trying some stuff here. We've got Gibbs, JT, and Taylor, and then JMO and Ridley at wide receiver. And we are going to, again, probably end this team with 4 running backs. I guess there's a world where for some reason I don't take any more. I could take them in the 17th and 18th round, but truly likely to just wrap it up with 4. Because if I'm wrong about these guys, I'm cooked anyway. 2 wide receivers, then Henderson in the 6th. No more Henderson crossface. I know you were here earlier when I talked about having too much Henderson, but I guess if I'm gonna have him on a team, it might as well be one where I'm all in on running backs. Like this. Maybe this wouldn't be the place to get different, but unfortunately, C. Peterson takes that temptation away and takes Travion Henderson. Just looking at the board, nothing too out of the ordinary. I wonder if Buckney wishes they hadn't taken Allen because they would. Oh no, Hurts came this way. Never mind. They would not have been able to stack Hurts and Devonta. Interesting that this person took Flowers instead of Hurts. It's hard for me to pass up if I'm here in the 7 hole. If I get AJ Brown here, I almost always going to take Hurts over Flowers. But again, opinions may vary. But let's see what is coming around to us. Don't want to be the unstacked Burrow guy. Don't really want another running back. Laporta would be, I think that would just be too aggressive as far as the Detroit build out when I am so far behind at receiver. Godwin's an interesting shout. Maybe we'll make this a Jaden Daniel, a Debo team. So I'm going to take Debo. Godwin certainly would be a choice. The injury stuff is a little odd. The fact that they drafted Igbuka is a little odd. Debo, coming off pneumonia. Oh, my light just went out. right. Debo, we can blame some of his lack of production potentially on the pneumonia thing. I think he could really be a big spike week guy. All right, I guess that light is just out. Debo could potentially be a big spike week guy, and then the team where I'm trying to catch up at receiver, maybe he is a little bit of an undervalued player. So we will add him to this team where I've gone hyper fragile. Again, it really, to me, wonder if I should have taken Godwin, but I don't know. I like the punt on Debo with this particular build. So Burrow makes it all the way to the T. Higgins drafter in the 6th round. So that was a lucky push by the piss boy here, who took 5 receivers and then a quarterback. So very much 0 RB. David Montgomery, kind of a classic 0 RB target. So that makes that definitely makes sense the way they're building, even if it's not what I necessarily want to do. If this guy doesn't take Laporta, he'll probably come to me, being that MJ 10K has one. If not, we'll add one of these. I was going to say one of the Green Bay receivers. I was probably going to take Matthew Golden to build out the If Golden, okay, I probably should take Golden over Laporta, but this is a nice fall on Laporta. All right, he takes Golden, so we're going to do it. We are going to take Sam Laporta. I know we're behind at wide receiver, but now we've got a lot of Lions, so we clearly have made a bet on them. Goff is going to be a big priority on this team, so we want to keep in mind where's Mr. Amon-Ra. So unfortunately, the Amon-Ra drafter didn't take an elite QB. And if I were to push Goff, it would have to pass him at 104 and 113. So we're going to keep an eye. I don't know how we want to play that, but we will see. Other potential quarterbacks will be Cam Ward, and that's really about it. Lovecraft kind of thing. You can do a bit of a Lovecraft thing here at this 126, 139 range. Although, again, being in the middle, one of them is going to get pushed pretty far. So we'll see. We will see. We might just take off at 102. But again, I think I'm going to be continuing to catch up at receiver. So I don't know if it's worth the detour there. All right. Ooh, this is going hyper fragile is always a bit nerve wracking, but I like what we've got here. We at least have kind of a theme, and we'll see if we can land this plane. But yeah, I remember the article that Pat Corrine wrote about the Tree of Jacquard, talking about how this is like a competition, building the best guitar, and all the guitars are getting shipped, but like they all break before they get to the competition. And when you build a hyper fragile team, I'm not doing Corrine's article any justice. He is far more articulate than I, but I do remember the analogy of like shipping guitars that are just like shattering along the way because the freight handlers don't care. And that's how BBM is. Like, we're trying to get teams to the final, and we will be lucky if we get 1 or 2 teams out of 150 to survive to maturity. Interesting. I think I would rather have Harris or Pittman on this team. I'm going to take Trey Harris here. Hawkinson would be really the galaxy brain move to have the Week 17 play against Detroit, and then I could end at 2 tight ends. So that would have been the like really wild play. I consider that. I don't think that's good though. I think I still need more wide receivers, and they go off a cliff, and Harris does open up Herbert as a potential QB option, which is what I'm looking for. Luther Burden would have been fine, but he's been a faller lately with that soft tissue stuff. So again, I don't want to get too cute. When you push wide receiver this far, it is tempting to take detours. I know I took the Laporta detour, Even that is a stretch, but we'll see if we can't, again, continue to catch up. All right, there goes Kyler. So, yeah, Hawkinson and Jonnu go. Let's see what comes to us. So if I look at QB, Goff is ADP is we Amon Ra drafter did take Baker. So they took Baker. They also are the lad drafter. So them and I are on a similar trajectory as far as Goff and Herbert potentially being stacking partners. Let's see what comes around to us. Burden and Pittman would be picks. If I took I could potentially take Scatabo and then that be my fourth running back and being completely done. Justin Fields would be an interesting pick because he doesn't have to be paired with anybody. But there goes Fields. So let's see. Yeah, I think I'm just going to take Scatabo and that be my Mason would be an interesting choice too. Maybe it is Mason. I love Scatabo, but if I am going to do this Lions thing, I have so much Scatabo as it is. I have almost 30% of him, but I think Mason makes more sense on this team. I have this giant Lions bet. That is the Week 17 bring back. And again, I do love Scatabo, but do I want to have 4 times as much Scatabo as Mason? That might just be bad process. It was a little bit of an ADP fall, but again, I think that I will tie break that to to Week 17. Could have potentially taken Goff, but you know what? If Goff goes, then Goff goes, and what am I going to do? But I am trying to build a quote unquote super team. At 115, running back can be really dry. I mean, I'd be lucky to get a Bayshell Tootin there. So let's just see what happens. Does this guy have, he doesn't really have any other QB stacks that make sense. So there's a pretty good chance he takes Goff. And if he does, then maybe we just take Herbert there and not try to push him at 123, but we will see. 4x more Scatabo than Mason sounds about right. Yeah. I don't necessarily want to do it every single time. And again, I think on this team, it did make a little sense. So Red Raider does unfortunately take Goff. That's a little bit of a bummer. But again, I don't know if it was worth pushing there. So I'm just going to take Herbert because otherwise I am pretty cooked at quarterback here. So the team so far, we've got Herbert at QB, Gibbs, Taylor, Jacobs at running back with Jordan Mason, wide receiver room of JMO, Calvin Ridley, Devo Samuel, and Trey Harris, and a tight end room of Sam Laporta. So still doing a lot of catching up at wide receiver. It'll be kind of 50-50 if we get one of the reasonable receivers still left in this range. Your Jack Beshes, I was going to say Kyle Williams, and then it's Kirk and Hollywood Brown, who I am a lot less excited about, but yeah, maybe a question if I should have just taken Goff there to lock up the stack. But again, I really did want to try to push it because I think there's a bit of a gap in your running back firepower after that. But now I am officially done at running back. Potentially going to build some back stacks on this team. Cam Ward will be another priority later. Might not want to try to push him around now that we bricked on our main Lions stack. Mims and Betch would likely be who I'd want here, but if I had to take Kirk or Hollywood, I probably would, just being how far behind I am at receiver. When you take 3 RBs early, the Scatabos and Tootens and Blues look like crap all of a sudden. Yeah, it is. It is like you've got Gibbs, Taylor, Jacobs, and then it's like, I'm Cam Scatabo. It's like, well, did we really? What are you really adding to the team here? But we will see. There goes Jaden Blue. Really like Betch, but we will see. So yeah, all right, we'll take Jack Betch. So do get a little bit of a consolation prize in a wide receiver that I like, and it also opens up Geno as another quarterback that I am pretty high on myself. Other potential QB options, JJ McCarthy I could take. And now I know Jordan Mason has stone hands, so he doesn't catch the ball, but I could then take like a late Naylor or Felton, and then that be my week 17. Just do, the Lions. I have Gibbs, so maybe it's not Goff going crazy, but if that game is back and forth, then it could be a JJ McCarthy game. I assume that the Justin Jefferson drafter already does have 2 quarterbacks, so unclear if they'll actually want a third. So I don't think there'd be any need for me to reach to get McCarthy, because it is a little bit more of a kind of backdoor stack. But let's see what is coming to us. See, Peterson takes Njoku and Stroud. Okay. Do they even have any Texans? Oh, they're on this side of the board. Okay. Yes, so they have Nico. I thought they were in the one hole. All right. So it's coming this way. So Najee, Njoku, and Stroud. So let's see what's coming over to us. That sort of changes my thought. If I want McCarthy, it has to wrap around all the way to 150. And then let's see our options here. So there is the Kraft Love stack potentially that I had mentioned earlier. I think I prefer Warren, but of course there goes Warren. I'm going to take Kraft here because Kraft does open up Love if Love comes around, and I do think he was the best tight end there on the board. Well, there goes Love. So I guess I should have known Love was going to go, because thinking back on it, we had Reed and Golden go the 2 spots after me. So it was more likely if I tried to push Love, then he was never going to make it by 4 opportunities for those drafters to take him. But that's okay. That's okay. This has been an interesting draft. This has been an interesting, hyper fragile team that we are constructing. Let's see, where is Cam Ward? Cam Ward goes at 165. So I pick at 150 and 163. So do I try to push him or not? If McCarthy comes, do I take McCarthy unstacked? Stay tuned. Howdy all. Hit the sub for our candle, man. Hey, Tyler, thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming by. Also, if you don't subscribe to all the stuff that Emo Cowboy's doing at the Fantasy Sanctuary and with the Typhel Tower over with Best Ball Guy and PPR Tyler, I highly recommend you do so, because they're grinding and they put out some awesome stuff. So definitely go swing by them. I am just going to take Cam Ward there because I do not want to miss this stack, and I don't need a running back. And these wide receivers are all kind of mediocre anyway. I'm not really too sad if I miss out on them. So I am just going to lock up that stack and move on with my life in this range. Yeah, Cowboy fans are legion. Cowboy saying hi to his people like a Roman emperor, just waving and throwing bread to the crowd. Yeah, I also want to say I will be on with PPR Tyler tonight for Best Ball Barbecue. So stay tuned for that. I was pulling so hard for the T-Wolves. I really wanted them to win because I feel like, PPR Tyler will be absolutely euphoric if they win. And so I'm hoping to bring the energy. It's not over. It's just 3-1. It'll just make the comeback that much more legendary. But yeah, I will be there. I believe that's at 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central. So I will be hanging by there. Yes, looking forward to you. Yeah, I'm pumped. I am pumped, Tyler. Trying to get back in the game after touching grass all weekend. ATX Bearcat. Well, I am glad one of us was able to enjoy the great outdoors this weekend. Let's see. So I had planned on taking Ward at 163, but I took him early. Yeah, so Gino goes. Cool. I guess he's probably the Bowers guy. Okay, I can't be mad at him because he's the Bowers GT guy. So yeah, maybe I should have taken Gino there and then hope Ward came and just ruined that guy's day. But you know what? This is a positive stream. We don't need to just, ruin people's days for no reason. That said, my day has been ruined. I have lost all my stacks. I don't know if I should take Bryce Young here or if I should just say Herbert and Ward are enough. I was going to say I'm going to take Bryce Young. All right. This team is rapidly getting away from me, folks. So I'm going to just take Jalen Knoll in shame, a little ADP value on a potentially exciting rookie on this really fun, hyper fragile team that was a massive bet on the Lions that doesn't have Jared Goff. Al Boogie, thank you for coming by. Here we are trying to build some hyper fragile teams, and it's not going super well. We've got Herbert and Ward at QB, Gibbs, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, and Jordan Mason at running back, and a wide receiver room of J-Mo, Calvin Ridley, Debo, Trey Harris, Jack Betch, Jalen Knoll, and a tight end room of Laporta and Kraft. I could never build out of this, but I believe in you. Yeah, Hartman, what I'm hoping is that they at the end of the draft, they add more players to the player pool, and I can get some, I don't know, maybe they'll add some CFL quarterbacks and I can get their stats. I think there's some, high flyers over playing in Saskatoon. Maybe that can help. A-Rich, never mind. Yeah, no, this room is absolutely brutal. Let's see who's left. Sam Darnold, Jackson Dart, Tyler Show, Aaron Rodgers. So I could take Firemuth and Aaron Rodgers in a BBM in May. This is the toughest of tough scenes. I'm actually literally at a loss for words. I'm literally just going to take my guy Ty Felton here because at this point I'm going to use no, I'm not. I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth. I'm going to take Freiermuth. This is going to be a 3 tight end team, and I'm going to take Felton next. And if somebody takes Felton ahead of me, my God. But I do think Ty Felton makes a lot of sense as a potential bring back in that game, where I have built out this week 17 Lions Vikings. I can't even call it a stack, but situation, if you will, kind of the situationship of week 17 stacks where it's not official. I do not know Hendon Hooker for the ultimate golf leverage. I'm actually hoping that they run that crazy. It wasn't a wildcat, but that like flea flicker to J-Mo where he then like threw like an interception. Like that's what this team needs. This team needs them to do that, but like the entire game. I do have to say that if you're going to put the game on the line, like making the guy who got suspended for gambling have to make the decision to throw it away was not smart. Like of all the people who it's like, okay, if it's not there, throw it away. You're going to ask the guy who literally like got suspended because they couldn't not gamble. No, that guy is never throwing the ball away. So, maybe that's something we could all learn, but I will hopefully take Ty Felton here. I mean, with only 2 QBs, I might add a 5th running back just because I now I have a wash in a roster spots that I didn't think I was going to have because I thought I was going to actually be building some stacks. But we'll add Ty Felton to the crew. Maybe we'll just end up with 9 receivers. Who knows? If this team wins BBM, then just throw out all the literature, because it means, you know, we'll just get a random number generator to draft, because this team is a little out there. But yeah, we'll add Ty Felton here. Probably try to add like an MVS or a Lockett to build out the Cam Ward. I mean, I could get really cute and do like Jackson Dart, you know, try to, I guess he's not even there. Slayton's already gone. So we can't even get cute. There's no cuteness to be had here. It's just Max Payne. Is show available? You could do a Saints thing. It's over, man. It's over. We're relying on Herbert and Ward. That's what we got. That's what we got. We're just gonna hope that those two are what we need. And the Herbert stack we have it's not even Ladd. It's Trey Harris. I mean, my God. I mean, no. I was gonna say I could do like Milrow MVS, but that's really disgusting. I don't know. This is not a position I find myself in overly frequently, but we'll just land the plane and get everyone out of here before ADP chasing comes on at 10. And again, if you have not liked and subscribed, please do. You can watch me put together BBMs that are super exciting, like this one. All right, so we're going to take MVS here if he doesn't go. All right, so we add him to the crew. Tennessee plays, I don't even really have a good Tennessee back stacking options, but you know what? That's okay. That is okay. They play the Saints week 17, and we don't have any Saints. We do not have any Saints. So maybe you were right. Maybe Hartman, you could do a Saints thing. Maybe I should have done a Saints thing. But you know, desperate times call for desperate measures. But yeah, again, appreciate you all coming by. This was a fun draft, even if this team was a little squirrely. I think this was kind of fun to build. We tried something. We stuck to our guns. We did do a hyper fragile. You know, we got our 4 running backs, but we did not get the quarterbacks we wanted. And partly that was my fault. At 102, I took Jordan Mason instead of Goff, so I risked it. And was that worth it? You know, right now I'd say probably not, but I did think more often than not Goff would have come around to it after looking at the draft board. Otherwise, we have some kind of fun rookies. We've got Harris, Betch, Knoll, Felton. So we've got to swing in for some upside. Hopefully, Debo comes back from the pneumonia, and a pretty strong tight end room all told. But you know what, guys? We are going to take Jalen Milrow. So we're going to hope that week 17 maybe Milrow is out there. And, of all of the late punt quarterbacks, he's got some rushing upside, and we'll see what happens. But again, if you haven't, please like and subscribe. Thank you so much for coming by. Had so much fun with all of you. Buck, thank you for coming in, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care, everyone.